How's it going, guys? So it's Wednesday today. Last couple of days the weather's been absolutely atrocious. It's been raining pretty much all day. Today the weather's forecast to be pretty decent, maybe some rainy showers, but right now it's sunny, so I'm going to take the opportunity to do some bits and bobs that I have to do. Today is going to be split up into two activities. First thing, and probably most important, I have to get some food for the next 4 days. That's how long I'm staying here until I head off to Fort William. So I'm going to take a quick inventory of what I have, which isn't much left, probably only 1 day's food left. And then I'm going to take a short hike, I think it's about 3 miles, down to Glen Coe village, pick up some bits and bobs, bring them back, and then hopefully it'll be after lunchtime. And then I'll chill around for a bit and then head out and do some photography. So behind me you can see the toilets and showers. That's very nice. Probably some of the cleanest I've been to yet on the trip. Although with this COVID thing going on, people are cleaning them a lot more often. So I suppose that's one benefit of this madness. Well, the sun's come out after all. These little hikes to get food are actually quite enjoyable down these country lanes, especially when the weather turns out like this. You know, those weather forecasters are getting pretty damn good. I was convinced earlier it's going to be raining all day, but you can see blue in the sky, so there's hope for the photo tonight after all. Made it back from the village, and this is my bounty. So this stuff will keep me going for about 3 days. Plus there is a pub just down the road, so I can probably go in and get some snacks and food there for sure. So it's now a couple of hours before I'm going to head out. So I'm going to do one of the most important things, which is pack and make sure I've got all my equipment. You'd be amazed how easy it is to forget something. So starting from the ground up, we've got the tripod here. This is my Gitso travel tripod. It's quite heavy, weighs about 1.5 kilos, maybe a bit more. But believe it or not, it's as light as they come. This is carbon fiber, very strong, holds the camera up in the wind. This little buckle that you see hanging down on this piece of guy line, that actually attaches to my camera when I'm holding it over my shoulder in case the top plate decides to slip off, although it shouldn't do because of that little nut in the middle there. But either way, it's good security and I definitely like using that. Next thing to check, of course, is your camera. This is my A7R4. Right now it's got my video focus lens on, but it also gives me a bit more reach, so I like to head out with it like this so I can figure out the right composition. I might very well switch to another lens which is in here, which is my Zeiss Loxena 21, which is my primary landscape lens. This is a prime lens, doesn't do focusing, doesn't do autofocusing I should say, but the picture quality of this is amazing, so I'll probably use this tonight. But so either way, that's my two lenses. I like to also make sure I've got my spare battery, which I know is charged. These are big batteries, so I very rarely ever need to use two anymore. And of course, it's worth making sure that the battery in the camera is charged, which I know it is because I did it earlier. Also, another thing to absolutely check on the bottom is that you've got your tripod plate, because this is very easy to forget and it makes the tripod useless. I've also just put 2 fresh memory cards in this, so it's worth making sure you've got enough memory. That's about it really. It's pretty hard for me to mess up. I do have my gradient filters in here, which I can feel is in there. That's very handy for landscape. There's another one which is a little tiny bit scratched. And this is my 10-stop neutral density filter, which might very well come in handy today. But these always live in this bag. All of this does. So I've never left anything behind because I don't change the configuration. Right, it just goes in there like that. And the top comes down, so it's nice and secure. For today's shoot, I'm currently about here. And I'm just going to come down here to here. That's where Hagrid's hut is in Harry Potter. So it shows that this is where the campsite is. Shows you don't have to go that far sometimes to get the photographs. It's a little bit grey and overcast right now, but since it's only a couple of minutes up the hill, it's worth seeing if anything happens. Okay, just a short turn off from here to the left, up this little hill, and there we have Hagrid's Hill. If I zoom in, there we are. That's what it looks like from the main road. Alright, let's head up there. If I'm not mistaken, Buck Peak was somewhere in the centre of the frame there, and these might have been the trees that Hermione and Harry were hiding behind in The Prisoner of Azkaban, the one with the time travel. Pretty cool. This is my second time here actually. First time was a couple of days ago. So I have some idea where I'm going to set up the camera, but I've got plenty of time. The light is looking nice right now. If I flip the camera around, you can see some really cool light hitting the side of the mountain there. I believe that's one of the Three Sisters. I think the third one from the top. It always pays to get to these locations early. Sometimes they're super busy with other tourists and you're all photographers, and you get 20, 30, 40 tripods lined up and all the best places taken. In this case, no chance. But it also gives you time to really look around and see if you can find a better view. And sometimes the light's even the best. Like I mentioned in my other videos, a couple of hours before sunset. So early always wins in this stuff, which sometimes means standing in the rain, and that's not very nice, but some you win, some you lose. So I put my bag down just to the left of the camera here, and now I'm just looking for different compositions really. I'm noticing to the left you've got these cool pine trees here, and to the right you've also got a cool wall of pine trees. And right, maybe a little bit off the rule of thirds, you've got the pine trees in the middle there. And just to the left of them, that's where Hagrid's hut would be. And if we look in the background, of course, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks, which looks amazing. Now this is being shot on a 24mm lens, and I can't quite get everything in. So one option is to head back. Another option is to head forward and just focus closer on these trees in the center right now, which might look quite nice. Or I can change lens and see what a 21mm looks like. And 21mm is quite a bit wider than 24. It's not just 3. The way that the millimeters work is it gets wider, I believe, as it reaches these smaller numbers relative. So 21 might actually land quite nice here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this video camera down, get out my main camera, put on the 21mm, and just see how this composition from here looks. I'm noticing in this frame that a lot of the sky is in the shot. So I think for that to work, there's going to have to be a really interesting sunset, or lots of God rays coming down or something like that. I'm also noticing in the foreground there's a lot of just grass, which isn't particularly interesting, again, unless some light hits it or something, or some animal comes into it or something like that. So I'm going to look around for another composition and see if I can find something that's a little bit more balanced. You can see here some of the test shots that I did with my 21mm. Definitely trying out different compositions. Some were focused on the trees to the front, some more on the mountain to the left. here, this big mountain just to the right, the sun is actually right behind that, so pretty soon it's going to dip behind it and that's all going to become shadow. And I do like how these trees are kind of being silhouetted a little bit with the background there. I think that looks beautiful. So although that looks amazing on the left, the big mountain and the way the light hits it, I feel with where the sun is setting, I'm going to try for something pretty near to where I am here. So the camera is now set up, and I wanted to go over a little bit about what this thing on the front here is, because I'm sure a bunch of you don't know. So this is actually a gradient neutral density filter. I'm not sure if you can see there, but if I hold that up in front of the camera, it makes the sky brighter and darker. And the general rule of thumb is that the sky is pretty much always brighter than the ground, other than maybe at night, but even then with the moon and all that. But basically the sky is considerably brighter than the foreground. And with cameras that can be a problem because of the limited amount of light that cameras can capture. So the eye can capture about 20 stops, as we call it, but cameras not quite as much. This one is about 15 as a top of the line camera. Some other cameras might be around 12 or 13 in stills. Okay, so now that the filter's in, when I slide this down, watch the back of the camera here. Specifically the sky. See what's happening? And those little zebra lines on the right of the back of the screen, those are telling me that the exposure is overexposed. So that means I won't be able to recover any information from that part of the image. So as you can see before, a huge amount is overexposed. And when I drop this down, not much is. Now if you do notice though that the foreground is also losing a bit of brightness. So it's really a bit of a balancing act between getting rid of those zebras and still seeing some of the midground and foreground. Now something you can also do is you can turn this like so, which is quite handy actually, because in this case the light's coming from the right. So I'm going to tilt this just a little bit to the right because that's where more of the sun is coming from and more of the image needs to be blocked out there. I kid you not, a little black bag here rolled all the way down there to right to the bottom and everything came flying out, so definitely secure your bags on these hills, otherwise they're going to do what gravity is going to do. In terms of the actual settings of the camera right now, I'm shooting in manual exposure mode. I'm currently sitting on 1/15th shutter, f11, 0.3, the exposure meter saying I'm a tiny bit overexposed, and I probably am. This camera can recover a lot though, and I'm on ISO 100, which is the base ISO for this camera. I'm using a 2-second self-shutter to remove vibrations when I hit the shutter button. There we go. So now I can preview that image and see what it looks like on the back. This is a handy mode. This is telling me that the sky is blown out or it's flashing. So I'm actually going to stop back and I'm going to change the exposure. I'm going to drop it down to half the exposure from before. So this is about half the amount of light. Let's just drop it down one more. So you can see here, looking at the histogram, which is this little bar here, that a lot of the image is on the bottom right now, and that's just because of the way the light's hitting. It's very intense out there, but let's do a shot and see what happens. So it's telling me now that a little bit of the black, only a little bit of the black is missing and a bit of the white, so I'm getting pretty close. So now I'm going to stop to 1/30th, which I think at this current light is probably the best I can get away with. As you can see, I got a nice shot earlier when the light was hitting just right. So I'll probably be pretty happy if this is the best it got actually. I think that's going to come out really well. Show you how insane the ticks are. There's one on my finger. This is the third one I found on my hand. So to say that there's a lot in this area is an understatement. It's a bummer there are so many ticks here. You pretty much can't sit down. You've got to stand up the whole time. So yeah, that's fun. They actually jump. When you get low to the ground, they jump up onto your skin. That's why I'm seeing so many on my hand actually. Pretty convinced they're nowhere else. My socks here are tucked into my trousers and they're all treated with permethrin and everything, so I'm pretty sure the only point that they can get into me is my hand and on my face, so no chin rubbing the ground. Nevertheless, before I head to sleep tonight, I'll do a thorough search of all the places that they like to hang around, like under your armpits, behind your legs and on your groin and all that, and if I find something I'll use my tick remover, so hopefully I got out of the woods okay this time. You can see now, about half an hour before sunset, it's starting to look quite drab. Lots of clouds are starting to form. I'll still hang around here. I made all the effort to be here, so I might as well wait until sunset in case some amazing sunset happens. Nothing worse than missing it because you didn't want to wait half an hour, so not putting up much of a hope though. Well, there we have it. Sunset's in a couple of minutes, but there's way too much low cloud today, so it's just not going to happen. Somewhere in the world there's a beautiful sunset, but it's not at Glen Coe tonight. Right, well, I'm going to head back to the campsite and get some dinner and a cup of coffee before it gets pitch black. And thanks for watching. See you next time.